Okay, last week I did a clip on woodcutters of the Deep South and working together. A look at racism and labor organization and just human rights in the Deep South from the 1970s up until current times. There was a companion video that was released right around the same time back in April. Two films, Arab-Israeli Dialogue from 1974 and Imagine Peace from 2019. The first film, Arab-Israeli Dialogue, was directed by Lionel Rogosin. It's basically two men, Rashid Hussein, a Palestinian poet, this guy here, and Amos Kanan, an Israeli writer and essayist. Two men who are very informed, very respectful, and also personal friends, even though they have profound disagreements on how to resolve, how to address the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which of course was engendered when the United Nations created the nation of Israel in 1948. A painful, bloody, tragic history that I cannot even think to recount or summarize here on TikTok. But these films are very fascinating, if somewhat exasperating, because there really is no end game. The resolution to these problems, as much as we'd like to see somehow peace, settle into this very troubled patch of the world, it just doesn't seem to be in the works, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But Arab-Israeli Dialogue, about 40 minutes of those two guys in conversation, interspersed with some landscape and local footage of Israeli countryside, really just for some visual variety. As a film, it's lacking as far as cinematic quality, but there are some pretty interesting reaction shots, and to see these two men having this conversation is pretty revealing. The body language, facial expressions, as well as just the presence that they have with each other. The second feature here, Imagine Peace, is a much more well-rounded and traditional type of documentary. It does give you a chance to connect with Amos Kanan, who's still alive, or at least it was at the time of the filming here, like in 2019 is when this was released. And there are other video and film segments from the previous decade or two that are woven together to make this kind of follow-up. Arab-Israeli Dialogue was very innovative for its time because conversations of the sort between a Palestinian and an Israeli who respected each other and didn't just engage in low-brow bigotry and prejudice and shaming and blaming and all of the kind of heated rhetoric that is commonly stirred up when this topic comes into conversation. They had a very substantial conversation, even though there's no way it's going to lead to a permanent resolution. These are just two men with somewhat progressive ideas coming from their respective positions, still polarized, but at least trying to have that constructive dialogue. Imagine Peace puts all of that into a much better historic context. You get a chance to sort of engage with what's been happening in Israel and in the Palestinian territories since then, and people who are trying to find ways of working toward a cultural reconciliation, even if a political solution is not very practical. So I do highly recommend this if you are interested in this topic. Again, it can be frustrating because it doesn't really land where you'd like it to, perhaps, if you're a peace-loving person, and especially if you're a strong partisan one way or the other, who feels like there are clearly good guys and bad guys in all of this. These films really don't go there. They really do try to find something in common between these oppositional camps. I want to close this clip out with a little quote from the film about the power of cinema and the role that filmmaking can have in addressing these types of problems. Racism of a sort, religious and ethnic conflicts, and of course the geopolitics behind it all. So yeah, watch this next little clip here.
I was a regular at the Bleecker Street Cinema also. I mean, we all were. Like the whole universe went to the Bleecker Street Cinema and to the New Yorker on the Upper West Side. Those were the and the Thalia, also the Thalia. Those were the places where we all went to the movies and got our education in what film is and how ideas are transmitted through film. You know, Lionel in the 70s in New York City was kind of a kingpin of the progressive left, so we all knew him and we all wanted to know him, and he was very much part of the scene in the Village where interesting people were doing interesting things.
While getting to know in a deep way my father's films, one can't help asking oneself the question about how cinema affects politics, the way we think, how we feel, how we see the world.
Can film change things? I believe so, definitely, or I wouldn't continue doing the work I'm doing with Israel, with the Palestinians, with the Middle East. I don't think that film can bring peace or war, but I think a film can inform. The duty of a filmmaker, documentarist filmmaker, and even sometimes fiction filmmaker, is to inform. When I have crowds at the Trois Luxembourg in Paris, seeing situations in Israel, in Palestine, inviting Israeli and Palestinian film directors to discuss together, and they come, there is an incredible amount of questions that come from the public. And I think that the public, after having seen intelligent films, walk out a little less ignorant. And that is, I think, the importance of, what can a film do? Educate, inform, make you think.
And check these out. These are on the Kino streaming now, Kino Now streaming service, and Kino Lorber DVDs.